I'll never forget the look on Patricia Fitzgerald's face when she realized what she'd been watering her prize-winning roses with. There she was at 6 in the morning dragging my garden hose across my yard, moving like she'd just discovered the neighborhood's best-kept secret, bucket after bucket. She filled them up from my private water tank, a smirk on her face like she'd cracked some top-level code. I watched her from my kitchen window, coffee in hand, waiting for the perfect moment. And when I finally strolled outside and casually mentioned that she was stealing treated sewage water, her expression melted faster than a popsicle on asphalt in the Arizona sun. But let me back up. My name is Jake Sullivan, and 3 years ago, I moved into what I thought was going to be a quiet corner of suburbia. Instead, I ended up in the middle of a turf war with a passive-aggressive dictator, a heat wave, and a tank full of recycled revenge. Desert Vista Estates sounds fancy, but it's really just stucco houses, fake grass, and an overbearing hoa. It's perched right on the outer edge of Phoenix, where summer is less a season and more a punishment. When I moved in 3 years ago, I figured I'd get away from the chaos of city life. Big mistake. That's where I met Patricia Fitzgerald, hoa president, neighborhood watchdog, and self-appointed queen of all things aesthetically approved. She had this way of writing the mails that could be read out loud in a cheerful tone. Even as they ruined your day, you could practically hear the smile as she told you your trash cans were visible for 6 whole minutes after pickup. To be fair, Patricia wasn't all bad. She did keep the place looking pristine, but she had a grip on the neighborhood like a python in pearls. She enforced hoa regulations like she was training for a legal battle with God, her pride and joy. A front yard she called a botanical paradise, imported heritage roses, Japanese maples, flowering vines from boutique nurseries in California. Her yard was her brand. She even entered her roses in county competitions and won, more than once. When the city announced Stage 3 water restrictions that summer, it hit everyone hard. You could water for only 2 hours on Sunday mornings, no exceptions. Temperatures were stuck at 115 F with no rain in sight. People's yards went from green to brown faster than you could say xeriscaping. I saw one guy try to paint his lawn green. Another neighbor started putting umbrellas over her cacti. But Patricia, she looked like someone had asked her to set fire to Monet's garden. That's when I realized I had something no one else did: a gray water reclamation system. 6 months earlier, I had installed it legally with permits and HOA approvals. It collected used water from my showers and washing machine, filtered it through a multi-stage system, and stored it in a 1,500-gallon tank behind my shed. Bright yellow warning labels covered the tank. Non-potable water, treated gray water, not for human consumption. There was even a heavy-duty padlock on the spigot, just in case. I had to mail Patricia about it when I installed it, more out of courtesy than obligation. Her only response: tank must not be visible from the street. Refer to HOA Regulation 14.3b. Typical. But as the restrictions dragged on, something shifted. My yard looked healthy, not lush, but alive. My succulents stayed plump. My dessert flowers kept blooming. Meanwhile, Patricia's paradise was slowly becoming a graveyard. Her roses wilted. Her maples looked fried. She started spending more and more time outside, soil testing kit in one hand, garden hose in the other, muttering like a woman possessed. She sent out HOA-wide emails demanding exemptions for established landscaping of significant neighborhood value. No one was fooled. One evening, she cornered me by the community mailbox. "I've noticed your plants look remarkably healthy, Jake," she said, tone dripping with suspicion. "Must be nice to have a secret stash while the rest of us follow the rules." I kept it polite, told her about the gray water system, how I recycled my own household water. I even offered to send her the specs in case she wanted to install one herself. She scoffed. "Please, that's just an excuse to hoard water while your neighbors suffer. Treated water is treated water." I reminded her it came from my showers. And laundry filtered, yes, but not safe to drink. Definitely not something you want on edible plants or in kiddie pools. She waved me off and stormed away, mumbling something about selfish people ruining the neighborhood character. Little did she know, that was just the beginning. 3 days after that awkward mailbox confrontation, I noticed something weird during my morning routine. I walked out to check the tank just before heading to work, and the lock was gone. Not broken. Cut. Clean through. Now, I don't like to jump to conclusions. Maybe it had just malfunctioned. Maybe a neighborhood kid thought it was a game. But when I reviewed the security footage from the motion sensor camera I'd installed behind my shed, any hope of coincidence died. There she was, Patricia, 5:45 a.m. black leggings, dark hoodie, gardening gloves, looking like a PTA-approved cat burglar. She crept across my lawn like a low-budget ninja, bolt cutters in hand. Snip, off came the log. Then she brought out 5 empty buckets, lined them up next to the tank, and started filling them with my hose. She even had the gall to attach my garden hose to my tank spigot to make the job easier. The whole operation took 20 minutes. She made 3 separate trips to her yard across the street, moving like she was harvesting diamonds instead of gray water. And the worst part, she looked pleased with herself, smiling, smirking, like she'd just pulled off the Ocean's 11 of suburban water theft. I didn't confront her, not yet. I wanted to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. So I replaced the lock, stronger this time, and moved the camera to a better angle. Sure enough, she came back 2 nights later this time with new bolt cutters. Same outfit, same buckets, same operation. But this time, she got sloppy. The next morning, while I was trimming my hedge, I overheard her bragging to her neighbor, Mrs. Peterson. Outsmarted the water police, she said proudly. Jake will never know what hit him. Mrs. Peterson chuckled nervously. She clearly didn't want to be involved. That afternoon, I'd had enough. I didn't want to start a war, but I also wasn't going to sit back and let someone still treated wastewater and pour it all over the neighborhood like it was Miracle Grow. So I posted a friendly little notice on our HOAS online community board. Reminder to all residents, private water tanks on residential properties may contain non-potable water, including treated gray water from household systems. This water is not suitable for drinking, edible plants, or play areas. Please respect all safety warnings and private property rights. 17 likes in the first hour. 3 thumbs up reactions. 1 shocked face emoji. I didn't name names. Didn't accuse anyone. But 20 minutes later, Patricia was pounding on my front door, red-faced, breathing hard, eyes blazing like a mom who just found graffiti on her minivan. How dare you try to scare people with your lies? She barked. You're trying to hoard water and make me look like the villain. I stayed calm. Pulled out my phone. Would you like to see the original permits? Water quality test results? Maybe the footage of you trespassing and stealing. She froze. Her face went pale. Footage. You can't record people without consent. I can record my own backyard, Patricia. I replied, especially when someone's breaking in and committing theft. Also, the tank is clearly marked. You ignored all 3 warning labels. That's when it hit her, the realization. Her lips parted, but no sound came out. You've been watering your roses with treated sewage for over a week. She stumbled back like I'd slapped her. Treated sewage. But you said it was gray water. Gray water is treated wastewater, I said, patient as a kindergarten teacher. From showers, washing machines, bathroom sinks. It's filtered, yes, but it still contains traces of soap, body oils, hair, laundry detergent stuff. You definitely don't want our prize-winning roses. She covered her mouth with both hands. You could practically see the calculation happening in her brain. How many gallons? How many roses? How many rose cuttings had she sold? Because yeah, she sold them. Cuttings from her award-winning rose bushes. 2 neighbors. Garden clubs. Even on Etsy. Without another word, she turned and ran home. I figured that would be the end of it. Maybe she'd lay low, send a passive-aggressive apology email, and we'd all pretend it never happened. But Patricia doesn't do low. She does nuclear. Later that afternoon, I got in the mail from the whole board. Subject line, emergency meeting request. Tank incident apparently. Patricia had gone straight to the board, claiming I was storing hazardous materials in plain sight and had created an attractive nuisance that endangered community health. She wanted me fined and my water tank removed. She argued that it was a health hazard, a code violation, and potentially a breeding ground for infectious gray water contamination. I still don't know what that means, and I own the tank. The emergency meeting was scheduled for Friday night at the community center. I showed up early, laptop in hand, every document meticulously organized. HOA Approvacity Permit Stank Installation Photos Water. Treatment specs photos of the warning labels receipts for the broken padlocks and, of course, the security footage. By 6:45 p.m., the room was full. Word had spread. Neighbors showed up with popcorn. Patricia sat at the head of the table, perfectly composed on the outside. but I could see her hands shaking as she shuffled her notes. She launched into a speech about neighborhood integrity and environmental safety. She accused me of endangering children, claimed my tank was unsecured and leaking. Then came the finale. I fear this tank is becoming a symbol of selfishness in our community. That's when the board chair, David Kowalski, nodded at me. Mr. Sullivan, do you have a response? I calmly plugged in my laptop, turned the projector on, and pressed play. There she was. 5:45 a.m. night vision footage, clear as day. Bolt cutters, buckets, hose. The entire room fell silent. You could hear the AC clicking. And then I zoomed in on the warning labels. Bright yellow. 3 of them. Non-potable. Do not drink. Private system. Patricia's face. Priceless. Pale as the projector screen. David cleared his throat. Patricia, this is clearly trespassing, theft, and property damage. You cut the padlocks and removed approximately 300 gallons of water. Patricia's voice cracked. It's just water. He's exaggerating to humiliate me. That's when Nancy Torres, another board member, spoke up quiet but firm. You stole treated sewage water and put it on your roses. The same roses you enter into county competitions. The ones you sell. Cuttings from the gardeners across the valley. The room collectively exhaled like someone had punched it. Patricia tried to speak, but choked on her own indignation. She shuffled papers, blinked rapidly. Someone in the back whispered, she sells them on Etsy. Then came the vote. The board voted unanimously to fine Patricia $800 for property damage and theft. They also called for a vote of no confidence in her position as HOA president. The result, 12-1. Only Patricia voted for herself. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. A few days after the meeting, things seemed quiet. Patricia hadn't posted a single thing in the whole group chat. No mass emails. No driveway rants. For a moment, I thought she might finally be lying low. Maybe licking her wounds. Maybe learning from her mistake. But nope. Turns out, someone, and I swear it wasn't me, reported the incident to the county health department. Selling plant cuttings from a garden watered with non-potable, treated gray water isn't just an HOA violation, it's potentially a public health risk, especially if you don't disclose it. 2 days later, hazmat-suited inspectors showed up at Patricia's house. Bright yellow tape was strung across her pristine front yard like a crime scene. They tested the soil, took samples from her roses, and clipped away sections of her irrigation line. Neighbors stood on their porches, watching like it was a parade. One of the officials even had a clipboard label, Environmental Contamination Protocol. That evening, a notice went up on the home message board. Notice, yard quarantine. Property at 412 Rosevini Lane has been temporarily restricted due to potential contamination. Please avoid direct contact with soil or plant material. That was Patricia's address. Her entire rose garden removed. The top 6 inches of soil excavated and hauled away. Cleanup cost $12,000. Billed directly to her. But it didn't stop there. The county fined her $3.00 for selling contaminated plant materials without disclosure. And remember those Etsy buyers? Yeah. At least 7 of them demanded refunds. 2 of them even threatened small claims court. One particularly furious customer left a public review. I bought award-winning rose cuttings from this seller and later found out they were grown with shower sewage. I feel sick. It wasn't long before the story hit local news. HOA president watering award-winning roses with sewage. The headline ran on Channel 5 News. They even showed a side-by-side of Patricia's real estate headshot and a close-up of one of the yellow do not drink stickers from my tank. Within hours, the video went viral. People shared it across Facebook, Instagram, even TikTok. A meme started circulating. Patricia's smiling face next to a toilet with the caption, Fitzgerald Realty, where every deal is a flush. Her Yelp reviews got flooded with rose emojis and toilet icons. By the end of the week, 3 clients dropped her from their real estate deals, and the Arizona Real Estate Commission opened an investigation into whether her behavior as an HOA president had breached professional ethics. Mrs. Peterson told me that Patricia had hired a lawyer. Just the retainer fee was $5,000, and that didn't include any of the cleanup, fines, or potential lawsuits. The cherry on top, the Paradise Valley Rose Society, a group Patricia had proudly served as treasurer for 4 years, held an emergency vote and revoked her membership. They stripped her of the 3 awards she'd won in prior years and issued a formal statement. The Paradise Valley Rose Society cannot endorse any gardener who show such blatant disregard for horticultural ethics and public safety. Yeah, they said that. Horticultural ethics. Final scene. Anuwa at the next HOA meeting. The one where we voted in a new president. Patricia showed up. Not at the head table, just in the back row, wearing oversized sunglasses indoors. When the final vote was read out loud naming David Kowalski, the new HOA president Patricia didn't clap. She didn't protest. She stood up slowly, grabbed her purse, and walked out without a word. Her expression, completely blank, like someone who had just realized they lost everything not because of bad luck, but because of their own ego, because they thought they were untouchable, because they thought no one would notice a few stolen gallons of water and maybe, just maybe, because they underestimated the guy across the street with a legally installed water tank and a good memory.